Hey kids, look, we have butterflies. Um, it is so wonderful to see some of them coming out of their chrysalises today, and I thought I would share that with you.
Go.
So today is Monday of Holy Week. It is my, well, not my favorite, but one of my favorite days of the year of Holy Week. And I had really, to be true with you children, when I had been putting together our reading plan for the children, I had really sacrificed having the triumphant entry to Jerusalem reading for yesterday so that I would have a chance to make this video and talk to you today about Mark chapter 11 verses 12 through 25. So I encourage you to go read those if you will, and pause it and read those if you haven't yet today. Okay, so there's two stories in that passage, it seems. There's the story of Jesus cursing the fig tree, and it is interrupted with the story of Jesus cleansing the temple. And you can take those as two different stories, and you can get a lot out of them as two different stories. But I think Mark put those together for a reason, and maybe that reason helps us to understand better why Jesus curses the fig tree. Now we could talk about how Israel is represented as a fig tree in the Old Testament, and that it wasn't time for Jesus for there to be fruit being borne by the people of Israel. That means it hasn't been time for it to be a blessing on all the nations as God had promised Abraham yet, because Jesus hadn't come and died yet. And so when he goes to the temple, of course, he doesn't find righteousness, and that he was looking for people to be righteous and spreading the good news, because that would have meant that he didn't have to die. We could talk about that. Oops, I guess I just did. But I didn't want to talk about that in depth, just to give you a little bit of an idea of one part of the interpretation of that text. What I wanted to look at is the fact that as Jesus is going through the temple, turning over the tables, he's telling the people that my house shall be called a house of prayer. And that ties in a different way the story of the fig tree together with verse 25, whenever you stand praying. So prayer is one thing that ties this story of the fig tree and Jesus cleansing the temple, two places where Jesus was displeased. And both times he's talking about prayer. Evidently and expressly, there's a tie between our fruitfulness, that is our effectiveness as Christians, and our prayer life. And when we allow the business, the politics, the mechanics of religion, of church, to get in the way with our relationship, which is prayer, then we need to have our tables turned. We need to be corrected, and God does correct us. And perhaps one interpretation for this season in our church life is that God has turned the tables on us this Holy Week, as we have been focused on so many different things. Perhaps this is Jesus calling us back to a true prayer life and real relationship with Him. Thank you, and God bless.